Next is about factors influencing this chemical shift value. Just now only we discussed about chemical shift values and chemical shift values of different compounds also discussed in our previous class. Chemical shift values are nothing but change in the or shifting of values on delta scale because of shielding and de-shielding effect of protons is called chemical shift values. Shielding is nothing but when there is a opposite direction in between external magnetic field and induced magnetic field. So if both are alignment against with respect to external magnetic field is called shielding effect. Always shielding shifts the values towards upfield in the delta scale. When we are taking second condition, that is de-shielding is nothing but, so when there is a reinforcement between the external magnetic field and induced magnetic field, that is called, so reinforcement is there, that type of effect is called de-shielding. Always de-shielding shows the values towards downfield. Delta scale is measured in ppm. 0 to 10 ppm values will be there. So in that, reference compound is tetramethylsilane. Because of because of low electronegativity and high volatility of the compound and high solubility effect, so it is able to dissolve all the organic compounds in this. So that is also another reason for taking that tetramethylsilane as the internal reference compound. And the next is about its value is arbitrarily as 0. It is the highest upfield value containing compound. So these are the reasons tetramethylsilane was chosen as the internal standard or the reference compound. Now let us see what are the important factors. What are the important factors which are affecting this chemical shift values? First is about electronegativity. So when we compare the electronegativity of different compounds, how it will shift. So methyl iodide, methyl bromide, methyl chloride and methyl fluoride compounds were taken. Among all these compounds, here when the electronegativity values are changed, electronegativity values are gradually increased, so that their chemical shift values also increased. So what happens? When electronegativity increases, the values are shifting towards downfield, they are gradually increasing. So this is the effect of electronegativity. As iodo group is least electronegative, its a chemical shift value is 2.16. Next is about bromo, its chemical shift value is 2.6. When chloro group is there, it is 3.1. When fluoro group highest electronegative, that's why here chemical shift value is 4.2. So in this way, electronegativity always shift the values towards downfield, and we will experience de-shielding effect by increasing the electronegativity values. And the second is about anisotropic effect. Anisotropic effect in the sense, when we change the direction of magnetic field, there is a change in chemical shift values are possible. Okay, isotropy in the sense similar in similar directions, in all possible directions. If the values or properties are exactly same, that is called isotropy. Iso stands for same. Anisotropy in the sense, if we change the direction, the values are entirely changed. That kind of effect is called anisotropy. Okay, here we are taking parallel arrangement in one compound. In the second compound, is horizontal. Okay, because of direction, what happened, their chemical shift values also varied, hence it is called anisotropic. When we are taking acetylene molecule chemical shift value, mute your mobile please, mute your mobile. Yes. So when we are taking acetylene molecule, its value, its chemical shift value is in the range of 2 to 3 ppm. In this acetylene molecule, what happens? Shielding effect will be there. Shielding effect in the sense, here, this is the magnetic field generated within the acetylene molecule that is rotating in this direction. When we are taking external magnetic field, that external magnetic field is in opposite direction. That's why always when acetylene was taken, it experiences shielding effect with respect to external magnetic field. Hence the value is in a field, that is 2 to 3 ppm value is obtained. Because of shielding effect in acetylene, acetylene molecule have induced magnetic field in this direction, but external magnetic field have opposite direction of rotation. That's why we will see shielding effect in the molecule. When we are taking second type of compound, that is ethene, that is carbon carbon double bonded compound. When carbon carbon double bonded compound was taken here, these hydrogens have tiny magnets of their protons. Those tiny magnets are revolving in this direction, here also revolving in this direction. That's the reason why induced magnetic field is generated in the molecule. This induced magnetic field is exactly same direction as external magnetic field. If external magnetic field have clockwise rotation, here also we have clockwise rotation. That means in alkene molecule, there is a reinforcement of external and internal magnetic field is possible. That's why we will get de-shielding effect. If the reinforcement is there, that is called a de-shielding effect. De-shielding effect always shift the values towards downfield. Let us compare. In case of acetylene, shielding is there, that's why 2 to 3 ppm value. In case of alkene or ethene, the value is in the range of 4.6 to 5.9. So which is downfield compared to that ethene molecule, that is acetylene molecule. Acetylene molecule exhibits shielding effect, whereas alkene or ethene molecule exhibit de-shielding effect. De-shielding effect will shift the values towards downfield. So this is about factors influencing. Two factors are there. One is electronegativity and the second is anisotropic effect. Electronegativity increases, values are gradually shifted to downfield. When anisotropic effect is there, anisotropy in the sense difference in the properties by changing the direction. In different directions, if the molecule have different properties, that is called anisotropic effect. If the molecule is in vertical mode, what happens? They are exhibiting shielding type of interaction, so that values are in upfield. When molecule is in horizontal movement, this is called horizontal orientation of the alkene molecule. Because of this horizontal orientation, it is experiencing de-shielding effect. De-shielding effect, that's the reason why here downfield shift of values will be observed. And next topic is about delta scale. We already discussed about delta scale. All the chemical shift values are represented on delta scale only. There is a possibility to ask the short answer question, how to construct the delta scale, how chemical shift values are exhibited on delta scale. That's the reason why we are separately studying this. Delta scale of NMR spectroscopy ranges from 0 to 10 ppm. We already know scale ranges from 0 to 10 ppm values. So if we are moving towards 0 is called upfield. If we are moving towards the 10, direction towards the 10, that is called downfield value. Okay, so in this delta scale, the important reference compound is tetramethylsilane, which is called internal standard. This is about the representation of delta scale. So upfield and downfield, TMS always give the singlet at 0. Tetramethylsilane on delta scale value is fixed as 0 because all compounds delta values are above than TMS. It is the least value, hence its value is fixed as 0. Now, let us see another topic in this NMR spectroscopy, that is spin-spin coupling. Spin-spin coupling is nothing but here NMR spectra of some compounds multiple peaks are obtained in this compound. When we are taking CH3 CH2Br, so it will give two signals only. So but two signals are not singlets. Always we know TMS is the internal standard, its value at 0. Okay, and when we are taking CH3 CH2Br, in this CH2 proton will give quartet. This quartet is mainly due to CH2 protons, and this CH3 protons will give triplet value. Triplet peak means 3 peaks. Within the single peak, again subdivision will be there. So single peak divided into 3 peaks. Here single peak divided into 4 peaks, again subdivision will be there. So if 4 peaks are there is called quartet, 3 peaks are there called triplet. If 2 peaks are there called doublet, single peak is called singlet. So this is about the terminology to represent the peaks. 1 peak called singlet, 2 peaks called doublet, 3 peaks triplet, 4 peaks quartet. More than 4 peaks we can say multiplet or complex peaks will be there. Okay, so let us see why this ethyl bromide gave such a kind of quartet and a triplet. What is the reason for this? In order to explain this multiplicity of the peaks, we have to know the concept called spin-spin coupling. Let us see what is mean by spin-spin coupling. Okay, so equivalent set of protons on the carbon gives multiple peaks instead of single peak, which is called splitting of protons. Okay, so this is about high resolution spectrum. High resolution spectrum in the sense when extra energy is supplied, the peak is subdivided into again small peaks, which is called high resolution spectrum. In this high resolution spectrum, what happens? Splitting of spectral lines are possible because of magnetic effect of adjacent nuclei. So in order to explain that spin-spin coupling, we are taking the compound having 2 set of protons. First, carbon have 2 hydrogens which are indicated as 1 set of protons, and the second carbon have only 1 hydrogen which is indicated as B set of protons. Okay, so in order to give their splitting, we have to use the formula, that is N plus formula is used. N plus formula, let us see what is N plus 1 formula. So here number of possible peaks are 2. For these 2 hydrogens, so for these 2 hydrogens we have to apply the formula, that is N plus 1 formula. When N plus 1 formula is applied, that N value, then N value is given by adjacent carbon hydrogens. Okay, for this A type of hydrogens, the N value is taken as 1 because that 1 is present on the B carbon. Okay, so that's why. So here N plus 1, that means 1 plus 1, it becomes 1 plus 1. So here this A type of proton will give doublet. A type of proton will give doublet because N plus 1 formula we are applying. That N should be taken for this adjacent hydrogen, not on the same carbon atom. So we have to take that N value for adjacent carbon hydrogen. Okay, so hence this A type of hydrogen will give doublet. Now let us calculate number of signals for this B type of hydrogen. For this B type of hydrogen, again we have to apply the formula N plus 1. N plus 1, here N stands for 2 hydrogens because adjacent carbon have 2 hydrogens. That's why we have to take 2 plus 1. 2 plus 1, it will give 3 peaks. That means it will give triplet. Actually 1 hydrogen is there, that's why it should give only singlet. It is not correct. It will give triplet. The reason is we are applying the formula N plus 1. Here N stands for number of hydrogens which are present on the adjacent carbon atom, because the signals of this B proton are influenced by adjacent protons present on the carbon. This effect is called spin coupling. The spin of this hydrogen is influenced by spin of adjacent carbon hydrogens. This phenomena is called spin-spin coupling. Because of spin-spin coupling, the peaks of a particular hydrogen is influenced by surrounding hydrogens. By applying N plus 1 formula, we will get number of signals. For this carbon, we will get doublet. For A carbon, we will get doublet. For B carbon, we will get triplet because of adjacent carbon have 2 hydrogen atoms. Okay, so This is about the spin-spin coupling present in this NMR spectroscopy. See, here we got for A type of hydrogens, we will get doublet. Doublet means two peaks, splitting a peak into two peaks, which is given by 1:1 ratio, means two peaks having equal intensity. So equal length will be there. That is called 1:1 ratio. Okay. B type of protons are giving triplet, means three peaks are there. 1:2:1. This is the intensity of the peaks. First peak length is 1. Second peak is double length. That's why 1:2. Again, third peak is exactly same as first one. That's why here ratio will be 1:2:1. Okay, doublet ratio will be 1:1. Triplet ratio will be 1:2:1. This is about peaks obtained in the given organic compound due to spin-spin coupling. Now, let us apply the spin-spin coupling for this. Sorry. Okay, so because of internet problem, it is stuck for some time. So let us apply this spin-spin coupling for this ethyl bromide molecule. In this ethyl bromide molecule, let us apply for this A type of protons. For this A type of protons, we are applying N+1 formula. N value is taken as 3 because adjacent B carbon have 3 hydrogens on that. That's why N value becomes 3. 3 plus 1 we have to, so N is equal to 3 we are substituting. The value becomes 4. Hence, for this A type of protons, we will get 4 peaks, that is called quartet. 4 peaks called quartet. For this B type of protons, these B type of protons, again we are applying the formula N+1. For this, N+1 is applied. N is equal to 2 we have to take because adjacent carbon have 2 protons. Then 2 plus 1, the number of peaks are 3, which is called a triplet. Okay. For A type of protons, we will get quartet. For B type of protons, we will get triplet as a result of this application of formula. Okay. So this is about the what spin-spin coupling. Our next topic is about coupling constant. It is also most important term in this NMR spectroscopy. Coupling constant is given for short answer question. It's very simple. The distance between the two adjacent peaks is called coupling constant. This is denoted with J. When we are taking triplet, so this triplet have 3 signals. This distance is taken as J. Otherwise, this distance is also taken as J. Distance between the two adjacent peaks is called a coupling constant. The distance between the centers of two adjacent peaks in multiplet is constant. That value is called a coupling constant. This is denoted with J, and which is measured in hertz or cycles per second. So units are exactly same as frequency. Here it may be measured in hertz, otherwise cycles per second. So in case of this quartet, here is the distance between two peaks, which is called coupling constant. Here also you can take coupling constant. Here also you can take coupling constant. All these distances are exactly same. So all these are called coupling constant J only. Then this is about coupling constant. The distance between two adjacent peaks in the multiplet is called coupling constant. Now let us see what are the important applications of NMR. This is the last topic in this fifth unit. NMR spectroscopy and its applications. Applications of NMR spectroscopy. It is mainly used for chemical analysis. Chemical analysis in the sense we can easily identify whether the compound is synthetic or natural. So whether it may be synthetic or natural compound, it can be possible to determine its molecular structure. Whether it is extracted from the nature, otherwise synthesized in the laboratory, in both the cases, molecular structure can be identified. So by using this NMR spectroscopy analysis of the compound, this is an important tool which is the valuable tool for the identification of new compounds. And second is hydrogen bonding. Any hydrogen bonding is present in the compound can be easily identified by using this NMR spectroscopy. Hydrogen bonding shifts the signals towards downfield. So here, if the value is slightly shifted towards downfield, that indicates that the given compound involved in hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding is characteristic reaction for only electronegative elements. Only 3 elements are exhibiting this hydrogen bonding property. One is fluorine, second is oxygen, third is nitrogen. When these functional groups are in contact with hydrogen of adjacent functional group, they exhibit hydrogen bonding in that. So that hydrogen bonding is there or not can be identified by using this NMR spectroscopy. And next is about geometrical isomerism. To identify whether it is cis isomer or trans isomer, J values plays important role for this. It is the application of coupling constant, that is J value. Just now we discussed about what is J. Distance between two adjacent peaks is called J value. If J value is in the range of 7 to 12 CPS, cycles per second, if J value is in 7 to 12 CPS, that indicates carbon-carbon double bond exists in cis isomeric form. If the J value is in the range of 13 to 18 cycles per second, that indicates compound is trans isomer. Okay, lesser the J value, cis isomer, greater the J value, trans isomer. J values are mainly used to distinguish cis trans isomer in geometrical isomerism. This is another application of NMR spectroscopy. And the next is about detection of electronegative atoms. What happens? Based on electronegativity, the values are shifted towards downfield. Greater the electronegativity, greater will be the shifting towards downfield. Fluoro group will give signal at 4.5. Chloro group will give signal somewhat less than that. Bromo group still less than that. Iodo group still less than that. So this is mainly because of their electronegativity difference. That's why we can easily identify electronegative groups present in the compound. If electronegative groups are there, downfield signals will be obtained. Electropositive groups are there, upfield signals will be obtained. And the next is about in drug design and drug applications, drug structure and binding tendency, structure of proteins, structure of enzymes can be identified by using this NMR spectroscopy. Okay, whatever the compound is there, the compound most valuable information is given by this NMR spectroscopy. So it used to determine the structure, determine the enzymes, determine the protein structure. Everything can be identified by using this NMR spectroscopy. Okay, and the next is about material science application. Whatever polymers are there, dyes are there, optical materials are there, and also any other materials which are used in material synthesis or any material manufacturing, composite materials will be there. In every field, any new material synthesized can be identified, can be analyzed by using this NMR spectroscopy. NMR spectroscopy is also applied in biochemistry, like proteins and enzyme structure can be identified by using this NMR. Just like IR is also used to measure the function of enzymes. Here, this NMR spectroscopy used to identify the structure of compounds, structure of enzymes and proteins in living organisms. Hence, it is called biochemical analysis. Our last topic about this NMR spectroscopy is the medicinal application of NMR spectroscopy, that is called magnetic resonance imaging. In our daily life, we can observe it is a major important tool for the diagnosis of any defect present in our body. This MRI scan is mainly so many type of scanning devices are available, like ultrasound scanning, X-ray scanning, and also even magnetic resonance imaging. This magnetic resonance imaging is majorly applied to find out any minute defect is present in our whole body. Whole body checkup is possible by using this. Any bone deformations we can identify, any blood clots present in the body we can identify, any neurological deformations are there, and nervous system deformations are there, we can identify by using this magnetic resonance imaging. MRI is mainly utilizing this radio frequency. Again, it is based on the principle of NMR spectroscopy only. Magnetic resonance imaging is the medicinal diagnostic technique. It is used in the radiology for the identification of diseased particles and healthy particles. Okay, we can scan our brain, we can scan our body, we can scan our entire human body by using this, and it is very easy to identify whether it is healthy part or diseased part. Even minute defect is there that can be diagnosed by using this MRI scan. MRI scanners are used magnetic field as well as electrical field. Both are used. Magnetic and electrical fields are used, and radio waves are generated. So here again we are using radio wave frequency, then only it comes under NMR spectroscopy. MRI is the medicinal application of NMR technique, and it will give the images of two-dimensional structures. Okay, so this MRI give the signals, those signals comes under two-dimensional images are obtained. Entire body scanning is possible by using this magnetic resonance imaging. They are large, they have large and powerful magnets. Okay, patient is allowed to lay on the primary magnet, that is a powerful large magnet. So on that, patient is allowed to lay on the surface. Now radio wave antenna is used to send the signals through the patient. Radio waves are allowed to pass. When we are passing that radio wave signals through the patient, so what happens, the patient have around 70% of water content by their weight. Okay, so in that hydrogen atoms will be there. Whatever radio frequency we are passing, those hydrogens in water will absorb that radio frequency, and they involved in flipping of hydrogens. Water molecule only responsible to create the signals by this MRI scan. Water will respond to this MRI scan. When radio frequency falls on the water of human body, so it will capture that radio frequency, and flipping of protons are possible, and that is exhibited by computer based image. So two-dimensional image is given by the computer, so that is the output device. Energy is supplied from oscillating magnetic field. We are giving energy by, so those the magnetic field we are applying is continuously rotating, that will give the energy to the patient. Excited hydrogen atoms emits radio frequency signals which are measured by receiving coil. Here from the patient, whatever signals coming out, those signals will be captured by the device called receiving coil. Radio signals are made to fall encode using gradient coils. Okay, so after receiving coil, now the signals enters into gradient coil. So these coils are switching on and switching off continuously, so that we will get large amount of noise during MRI scanning process. It is somewhat slow process, and continuously we are switching on and off those MRI scanning devices, so that noise generation is possible during this MRI scanning. Then let us see what are the important applications of this MRI scan, magnetic resonance imaging. MRI is mainly used for medical diagnostic tool. It is used as a medical diagnostic tool, and used to identify prostate cancer present in especially male, and also other tumors. Tumors are nothing but cancer cells. Okay, cancer cells that used to form a bunch of cells. So such cells are called tumors. We can identify prostate cancer, and also any other type of cancers also identified by using this MRI scan. Neuroimaging in the sense, any nervous diseases, neurological deformations are present in the body, and those can be identified by using this neuroimaging process. Epilepsy and dementia, loss of consciousness, otherwise loss of memory, that can be identified by using this MRI scan. Okay, it is purely based on this neurological deformations. Okay, loss of consciousness, somewhat coma, such kind of conditions, unconscious, some people becomes unconscious at some times, and dementia, loss of memory. So all those conditions are identified by using this MRI scan. Cardiovascular imaging, heart pumping, how blood is pumped and what is the function, if any deformations are there, any clots are there, all can be easily identified by using this cardiovascular imaging. So here we can apply echocardiopathy, myocarditis, vascular diseases, all these can be easily identified by using this MRI scan. Then musculoskeletal applications. Musculoskeletal applications in the sense muscle deformations. So throughout the body, any muscle deformations, any muscle infections or inflammations are there, any soft tissue rupture or tumors are present in that muscles. So all can be identified. Even liver functioning and gastrointestinal applications, that means even digestive system functioning, liver functioning can be analyzed by using this magnetic resonance imaging. And all the organ functions can be easily identified. Angiography in the sense, again, images of arteries to identify their contraction and the rupture, if any. Means arteries and all these are used to pump the blood throughout the body. So it is the machine. Our heart is the machine which used to pump blood, oxygenated blood throughout the body and collect the carbon dioxide containing blood from all the parts of the body. So that is a continuous process. If any deformations are there, any malfunctioning is there in the arteries, we can identify by using this angiography. Dementia is nothing but forgetfulness, which is called a memory loss. Then this is also identified by using this magnetic resonance imaging. By this, we completed all the applications of NMR spectroscopy. Let us recall this MRI or magnetic resonance imaging again. Magnetic resonance imaging is nothing but it is the medicinal applications of NMR spectroscopy. First, what we have to do, we have to take the large magnetic field. On that large primary magnetic field, we are taking the patient. The patient is allowed to fall with that radio frequency. Radio frequency will be captured by water molecules present in the human body, as it consists a major component of our body. Those hydrogen atom, whatever signals gained, received by receiving coil. From that receiving coil, next signals entered into gradient coil. Gradient coil will give the signals to final recorder. Recorder will give the two-dimensional diagram of the NMR spectrum. By using MRI scan, we can scan our whole body, and the major application is any tumors or cancers present in the body can be identified. Any neurological problems are there, nervous system problems are there, can be identified. Heart functioning is identified by using this one. Liver functioning, stomach system, enzyme functioning,